Here's your wrestling news for January 14th, 2023. And with another day comes another whirlwind of news from WWE as talks continue as to who the company will be sold to. It's mad to think that it was just last week that Vince McMahon strong-armed his way back into WWE, essentially holding the company hostage by threatening to vote against any sales deals or TV rights talks, so it's not a challenge to see why the chairman isn't too popular right now. For years, Stephanie McMahon worked alongside her father both on screen and in the boardroom, but the two aren't exactly allies. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer states that the two McMahons had issues working together and that it would be Nick Khan who had to play buffer between the two. In an update from Fightful Select, it is said that when Vince returned, he didn't waste time dismantling the team that his daughter Stephanie had put together. Regarding reports from Wrestling Observer newsletter that Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon had issues working together as family members, it was noted to us by several sources at WWE HQ that when Stephanie's team was dismantled, a usually composed Stephanie was disheartened and frustrated about how it happened. According to Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was noted that Stephanie McMahon's WWE exit was much different this time. She executed a full break this time around, as last time Stephanie McMahon only took a leave. As far as Stephanie McMahon goes, last year she took a leave of absence from the company. While it was her decision, there were those in the company who did bury her on the way out and said she wasn't good at her job as chief brand officer. They also put out a story that she was forced out by Vince, although those close to her knew that wasn't the case since she had talked about leaving for some time, dating back to shortly after Levesque suffered a near-fatal heart issue and it was said that she was re-evaluating her life. But the belief when she left the first time was that she would come back, and when leaving, retained her position on the board of directors. While not her position name, but as far as the bulk of her work, her position was filled quickly, and word was that if or when she would come back, it would be in a different role. It was further noted that Stephanie McMahon leaving WWE after assuring employees that she was staying ended up raising a lot of flags. Her leaving after assuring employees that she was staying and the company saying the same raises flags. Those close to the situation in WWE tried to present her decision to leave as being related to the decision last year that after Levesque's heart situation, she reevaluated her life, wanted to raise her 3 daughters, and was wealthy enough that money will never be a concern. But she came back when Vince was in trouble, but that doesn't explain why this was a resignation and she left the board and cut all ties with the company she has worked for since she was a teenager. It was also conceded that she and Vince did have issues in working together as family members and how Khan was a buffer who kept things smooth between them as well as between Vince and Levesque. Stephanie has always been known as the ultimate team player, representing WWE at countless charity shows and public speaking events, so it's hard to imagine the constant professional to be so shaken. It's not just his own daughter that Vince has struggled to work with, as the same report adds that Khan has had to work as a buffer between Vince and his son-in-law Triple H. With Stephanie, Linda, and Shane all gone from WWE, the only family member left standing against Vince is Triple H, but for how long remains to be seen. Whatever you may think of the McMahons, Stephanie is now out of the company and will now have time to put her feet up. It won't just be some much-deserved relaxing that will see Steph put her feet up though, as just days after her resignation, the former CEO has gone under the knife. On Twitter, McMahon shared a photo from her hospital bed, confirming that she has had foot surgery and thanked the doctor and medical team for their support. Judging by her tweet, McMahon had surgery at the Andrews Sports Medicine Center in Birmingham, Alabama, the same place her husband Triple H had surgery after tearing his quads in 2001 and 2007. Others who have made the trip to Birmingham include John Cena, CM Punk, Batista, and Bobby Lashley, and now Stephanie knows what it's like to enter as a patient. Interestingly, McMahon stepped down from WWE just days prior to being appointed interim CEO in June of last year, as she wanted to spend more time with her family, and now the ex-CEO will have no choice but to take it easy. At this time, WWE's creative department is being run by Triple H, and at a talent-wide meeting yesterday, the head of creative spoke about WWE's potential sale and the return of McMahon. This meeting was done to try and ease the concerns, so it was necessary that the game had to address the fear that he'll lose his role as head of creative. Fightful Select reports, Triple H thanked the talents for all they do and told them that Vince McMahon's involvement since returning is to spearhead the search to see if they sell and to who they may sell the company to. Triple H also reiterated that none of this will see any effect on the current creative team or process. Those were the two main points to come out of the meeting, we are told. While his wife Stephanie McMahon has resigned from her roles with the company, Triple H remains in his role as Chief Content Officer and on the company's board of directors. Fightful adds that several WWE talents are extremely worried about McMahon returning to creative, with Triple H having cultivated a fun and friendly work environment in the 6 months after McMahon's retirement. Talent are in no hurry to return to the billionaire's old ways of tearing up scripts and firing highly skilled fan favorites, as it was McMahon who ultimately made the call to fire stars like Bray Wyatt, Miro, and Keith Lee. Triple H's reign as head of creative has seen him bring back multiple popular superstars who were released by McMahon and push names that Vince would likely have never considered and that apparently won't change with McMahon's return. The roster are in no hurry to see the return of awful storylines such as love triangles like the Miro-Lashley-Lana angle of 2019 or the bizarre Bray Wyatt-Randy Orton angle that saw Wyatt lose at WrestleMania 37, and don't want to see talented wrestlers have to sit on the bench off TV for months at a time. Employees were scared about McMahon's return, and rightly so, as according to Fightful, WWE has not made changes to Vince McMahon's office after he retired last year. Triple H remains WWE's head of creative, and according to the company, that role is not in jeopardy. But it is interesting that Fightful reports that at least 2 companies listed as potential buyers have said there will be roles for Triple H and Stephanie McMahon if a sale goes through, given the fantastic work they did after Vince's departure last July. WWE spent years being lambasted for their poor creative and were praised for what Triple H has accomplished thus far, and it would be in everybody's interest to keep the game running what fans see on TV. McMahon's return has not gone down well in WWE to say the least, but not everyone is against the chairman's shocking comeback. For years, Brock Lesnar benefited greatly from McMahon's treatment of him, becoming a 10-time world champion under Vince, and now the Beast hopes to work with the chairman even more. As per Zero News, Lesnar has requested to WWE management that he wants McMahon to book his matches, despite the insisting claims that Vince will have nothing to do with creative. Having McMahon do anything creative, even just booking for one person, is a dangerous move, as there's nothing stopping McMahon from taking over creative from his son-in-law if he gets a taste for booking again. On Twitter, fans made their views clear on this news, as they too feel like even letting McMahon book a small portion of the show could open up to him taking over creative again. Lesnar hasn't competed for WWE in months and is reportedly set to face Gunther at WrestleMania 39, but the big question is, who will be putting that match together behind the scenes? McMahon's return came about because he wanted to sell WWE, and there are no shortage of potential buyers. It was reported just a few days ago that Saudi Arabia's public investment fund had already bought WWE, but now not only is that not the case, they're no longer the top names around. That's according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, as Meltzer writes that sources in WWE have confirmed that Saudi Arabia was in the running, but are not the favorites to buy. That will surely come as a relief to those within WWE, especially as talents were reportedly threatening to walk out of WWE if the purchase by the Saudis went through. There had also been questions as to how Sami Zayn could stay with WWE if the Saudis bought the company, given that his Syrian heritage has resulted in him not appearing at any WWE event in the Middle Eastern Kingdom. Comcast, NBCU's parent company, Netflix, Amazon, Endeavor Group Holdings, UFC's parent company, Warner Bros. Discovery, TNT and TBS's parent company, Disney, and Fox have all been speculated as potential buyers, and even Tony Khan's name has been thrown into the mix. 2 of those names, Disney and Comcast, have been doing the rounds, and many predict that the latter are the favorites to buy, given Comcast's long-standing relationship with WWE. For those who may not know, Comcast is the parent company of NBC Universal, who own the USA Network, the home of Raw and NXT, and Peacock, the home of the WWE Network in the United States. Saudi Arabia may no longer be the favorites, but that doesn't mean they're out of the running entirely, especially as there's been conjecture that the only way McMahon will regain creative control of WWE is by selling to the Saudi PIF. Ultimately, Vince McMahon will be the one to decide who become the new owners, though this decision won't come easy and could even see him out of a job. While multiple companies have said that they would find roles for Triple H and Stephanie, anonymous contacts within Disney and Comcast said that no major company would want to retain Vince McMahon in any capacity. Of course, this shouldn't be treated as an official statement by either Disney or Comcast, but it's notable that McMahon's reputation of being difficult has reached potential buyers. So with so many buyers, the big question now is simple: how much money is WWE wanting for the company? As an internationally recognized entertainment powerhouse, WWE won't come cheap, and we have a better idea as to how much Vince McMahon is looking at. Barron's, the sister publication of the Wall Street Journal, reported that WWE could be sold for more than $105 per share, which implies a 46% gain from the closing price on January 5th prior to McMahon's return. Barron's adds that this range makes the most sense as a price of around $102 would value the company at 22 times the $410.4 million in earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization WWE is expected to record in the fiscal year. Matt Hickey, who writes for Benchmark, called the current position of WWE on the market the optimal setting for an acquisition attempt and agreed that WWE could be sold for over $105 per share. In 2016, Endeavor paid $4 billion, or 22 times adjusted EBITDA, for UFC, but $4 billion is frankly chump change for how much McMahon is actually wanting. In The Observer, Dave Meltzer, on the other hand, made it simple for us, saying that Wall Street analysts he has spoken to expect WWE to sell for anywhere between $7.4 and $8.2 billion. McMahon, however, is more optimistic, as WWE is hoping for the company to be sold for a whopping $8.5 billion, or somewhere around that figure. All we know for certain right now is that if a sale does happen, Vince McMahon will become even wealthier than he already is, but it remains to be seen which company will make the first offer. It'll be interesting to see what unfolds in the upcoming weeks. Stay tuned to Slat Rock Wrestling News as we stay on this story. Right now, all talk is on who WWE will be sold to and when it will happen, with the company hopeful for a deal to be finalized for at some point this summer. Whoever buys WWE will have control of the biggest wrestling company and will have significant influence over pro wrestling as a whole, but Booker T doesn't see himself working for a new boss anytime soon. On his Hall of Fame podcast, the NXT commentator said that WWE is stronger than it's been in months and noted how the stock has increased dramatically over the past week. Addressing the potential sale and whether it'll happen this summer, Booker advised fans to keep on waiting for a deal to be struck. I'm gonna say no, that's just me. As far as the company selling anytime soon, that's within the next 365 days. I don't see it happening, I just don't. A sale of that magnitude, there has to be so many T's crossed and I's dotted. I can only imagine the money involved in a sale like that. It's not like buying a car or a house, I would think. I've never been in this position before or anything, but I don't see it happening within the next 365 days. I don't know the money situation of the McMahon situation or anything. That's well above my pay grade and me wanting to know. I would think the family is okay as far as money goes. Vince McMahon has been around a long time. I would think he has enough money to be happy. I don't think billions and billions more dollars is going to make him that much more happy because it wouldn't. It would secure his family life and legacy for years and years to come. That's something that the family generational money wouldn't have to worry about. Speaking about what he'd do if he owned WWE, Booker called the company generational wealth, and that he would work hard as boss before passing the company down to his children. It was in the 80s that Vince McMahon purchased the WWF from his father, Vince Sr., and there was a time when it looked like the company would be passed on to his children, and whoever buys WWE in the end, don't expect a sale soon if Booker's comments are accurate.